this seems as good a place as any to start, with some horses in the back there. Hey folks, I know I'm not in my woods right now. I am in Vienna, but this has been such a wild trip so far. I thought I would attempt to try to summarize a little bit of what's been happening. Sorry, I'm trying to let a car go by. Try to summarize a little bit what's been happening because I'm probably going to need to do a part 2 anyway. So how about I just kind of go through Belgrade and lots of people. Belgrade, and where's the other place I was at? Berlin. Look at that amazing Christmassy decoration. It's already Christmas here. Hasn't even been Halloween yet. But yeah, this has been amazing. I mean, I'm just like always gushing with gratitude. But again, the main thing I want to try to get across in this video, though, is a sense of, I think I've been threading a very nice line between things I want to do and like trying to make things happen, but also kind of going with the flow and just letting things come. So kind of an ongoing thing throughout this trip so far has been like picking a destination, but being very lax about like what time I get there, unless it's like a live show, and just kind of seeing what gets me excited on the way to that destination. So let's start with Belgrade. So I arrived Belgrade, no sleep at all, pretty uncomfortable seat, but I had my Apple Vision Pro. That part's cool. What did I watch? Dark Matter. Dark Matter actually has a pretty crazy ending, if you check that out. And then I arrived and I got to go to hang out with a friend of mine in Belgrade. His name's Jelko, and we worked together at a restaurant 17 years ago in New Hampshire. And yeah, now he's like a big shot actor at the National Theater there. So not only did I have a lovely time catching up with him, having dinner, showing him VR, Apple Vision Pro, which are always in my backpack at any given moment, which would suck if I got mugged, but so far so good. I've just been giving lots of demos. But it was very cool to talk to him about, you know, the potential of VR and theater and live events and all that. But I also got to have this cool experience of seeing Swan Lake, ballet, no words needed, you know, no translation needed. And then immediately popping out of Swan Lake, which I did have to leave like 10 minutes early. It's okay, I know what happens. And then wrapping around to the other National Theater to see his show, which was called A Suspicious Face, which is kind of this Quentin Tarantino, Reservoir Dogs, a bunch of criminals being bad at criminals vibe. And just goes to show the power of good performance, because it was all in Serbian and I didn't understand it at all. And I still tremendously enjoyed the production. It was great. By the way, look, amazing architecture just passing by in the background. I'm embarrassed. I don't know offhand what buildings these are, but like, look at it in all its majesty. And yeah, the show was fantastic. It was all in Serbian, but I still was able to appreciate how excellent it was and funny. And, you know, I was laughing when the audience was laughing, even if I didn't quite understand the same level of context that they did. And then I got to go to the cast party afterwards. I miss cast parties and hanging out with actors. Mostly, you know, that was me in college, only a couple times post-college, but that was a really cool vibe. And again, just having really great discussions with them about how all this emerging technology can eventually start to be useful in theater and all that. So then I was obviously in Belgrade, not just for that, but for Unreal Day, and Unreal Day was so fantastic. Actually, we're skipping ahead. The day before Unreal Day, we got to go to 3 Lateral Studios, a little bit outside Belgrade. It was like an hour bus ride, and that was cool. It was like just a few of us, and we got to have like an amazing sneak peek at their capture studio, the way that they're, you know, scanning Norman Reedus and Mads Mikkelsen, all the Hideo Kojima folks, and some of the other scans have gone on in there, which is just like terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data. But their rig is really unparalleled, and we got to hear some nice behind-the-scenes stories that I probably shouldn't repeat, but yeah, we signed like an NDA stuff, but, you know, suffice to say, we got to hear about the future, where a lot of this is going, and it was just a really lovely sneak peek behind the curtain architecture. And yeah, the 3 Lateral crew is brilliant and amazing, and I was grateful to have some time to get to know them as kind of this pre-Unreal Day special field trip. So then, the next day, actually Unreal Day, yeah, it was kind of a mini Unreal Fest. What a cool community, obviously mostly localized to the Serbian area, though, you know, there are people there from Budapest and Hungary, and a couple from Italy and things like that. And I just really loved the intimacy of it, you know, even smaller than Unreal Fest Prague. Like, you were in these little classrooms. The whole thing actually took place inside of a theater, and the theater was, what is that line over there? Look at that line. we got to be it was literally in a movie theater. The venue was a movie theater. And so I was giving my master class about OpenXR and Apple Vision Pro and using VR and all that. And I'm doing it at like the front of where you'd be watching like some old David Lynch movie or something like that. And the vibes of that were really cool, really great discussions, very interactive. So there are all these master classes. There's an exhibit area. And I very quickly got pulled into not just viewing things. Like once again, like so many of these conferences, I saw almost nothing that I wasn't directly involved with because things happened. Usually it's just conversations. This time I started to give some demos over in the exhibit area, which very quickly became oh, is this bad? Am I doing this illegally because I should have paid for it? And the response I got was like, no, we should be paying you for this. I had 4 VR headsets with me and started to give a bunch of demos of our work plus Apple Vision Pro, and then even got to the point where we were putting everyone in a multiplayer experience for our Christmas Carol rehearsal room, which you might remember me talking about in the very first one of these video episodes. And that was so cool. Like, it was so fun to just watch people who had never done anything like this before, just interacting with each other and realizing that, the hands and the body motions and the face was reflecting their body motions and hands and face and all that. And then they got to, try to give each other high fives or hug or do all these things that are just really fun to do in VR, especially if you've never done it before. So that was delightful, and I ended up doing that most of the day. Huge thanks to Amber Bartosh, another good friend who coincidentally I got to spend a lot of time with in Belgrade. She was on fall break. She runs the Syracuse University architecture program in London, which I loved and participated in back in 2008, before her time, but she's brilliant and one of my favorite people to catch up with. And she very quickly just volunteered to basically be like an AgileLens employee for the day. So she very much earned the t-shirt I gave her. But yeah, she was helping me give demos and just try to balance this with a lot of people. She didn't know the demos, there was no prep, so she did a wonderful job adapting and was just really happy with the responses to that. The end of the day, and by the way, I should mention by this point, we're 3 days in and I've gotten like no sleep. I was trying to get stuff ready for my masterclass and I was trying to keep up with some work stuff, but also I just had kind of this buzzing energy that made it very hard to sleep. But I felt surprisingly okay. Like, I tried to nap a little bit on like a bench, maybe slept for like 5 minutes, but too much going on. Anyway, the last part of Unreal Day in Belgrade was I needed to give a keynote presentation, and I didn't look at the schedule close enough to realize that this was kind of like a special thing. There were only 3 keynotes. One was a gentleman who runs a very large game studio over in Budapest, and he was amazing. He talked about like all the incredible work they're doing in Unreal Engine across all these crazy projects. The other speaker was the founder of 3 Lateral, basically the progenitor. Oh my God, I can't talk right now. The guy who basically is responsible for metahumans coming into existence. His name is Vladimir. And that was amazing. And then it was me, just 3 of us. So I felt very honored to be part of that for the ending keynotes, the closing session, so to speak. And I talked about, all of our crazy fun work and got a very nice response to that. Talked about challenges in complex client projects and that sort of thing, 4 seasons and whatnot. And then there was a party afterwards and had a wonderful time chatting with more members of the Epic Games team. I always love the presence that Epic Games actually has at these events. Like, this was technically, I think, a fan event, but the presence there of Epic itself was quite something, and really grateful to catch up with, not just 3 Lateral, but other Epic Games employees who are based out of the area. Had a really wonderful chat with a few who are based out of like the London area on the ArtStation team, and I loved it. It's a great event, amazing people, amazing knowledge sharing. I think I'm going to try to go to this Mythos Mozart thing, by the way. We'll get to immersive experiences because I've got that in Berlin as well. I also love that I have no idea where I am. I'm just like wandering around. Never been to Vienna before. Just, I had some lovely food last night. We'll get to that. I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse. But Belgrade, so good. Party was great. And then, just like what happened last month when I was going from California, Menlo Park, San Francisco to Seattle, I ended up not sleeping at all. Let's actually go that way. We're going to go this way. Didn't sleep at all. Oh, and we'll see the Mozart thing. Hold on right here, because I think I'm going to go to this later today. It's Mythos Mozart right there. Cool. All right. Didn't sleep at all. Packed my bags. Caught a very early morning flight to Berlin Friday morning. Arrived in Berlin, and then got to hang out for the day with Tank Thunderbird, who was responsible for this whole second leg of the journey. I was originally just going to Belgrade and then going back home. And then the idea, of course, was, oh, well, Tank offered me a free ticket to AWE here in Vienna. And I thought, fantastic, but there's kind of this big gap. What should I do in between? Hey, Chris Nichols and Chaos Group is doing this cool thing for Project Arena in Berlin. I'll go to that. That's also where Tank is based. So it worked out really well, and we got to have a really wonderful day, hanging out, trying out different things, getting different kinds of food, finding bubble tea, which I'm happy to find anywhere I can, and just enjoying the area. We got to go to Potsdamer Platz, which was a site that I actually had to model for the very first time I ever used 3ds Max back in 2007, because there was something in 1995 there called the Info Box, which was a little building, a temporary structure that told you all about all the construction that was happening there. So it was cool to actually visit that space, see the Philharmonic Hall. Oh, and this is kind of funny too. I try to see a live performance every time I'm in a new city, if at all possible. And so I told this to Tank, and we were discussing like different things we could do. But we knew that, of course, we were doing the Project Arena thing that first night. But we actually, while walking through Potsdamer Platz, had this very lovely young woman come up to us and say like, hey, I'm part of, the Student Symphony. We have a performance tonight. We'd love for more people to come. Can I give you a free ticket? And I was like, it broke my heart that I had to say no, because we had these other prior commitments. But like, how cool that she just wants more people to see their awesome classical music concert in this beautiful venue. By the way, the Potsdamer Platz main area looks like a giant umbrella. It's kind of wild. It just looks like you should be able to like whoop, put the whole thing up, and it would get pretty crazy. This building is awesome. Look at this. Yeah, so that night, after lots of walking around and exploring the transit, which I was very confused by, so grateful to have Tank there to help me out, we went to the LED Cave, really, really cool venue. As you might guess, they've got a bunch of LED walls and that sort of thing over actually closer to the airport where I was earlier today. Somehow I'm still awake, and got to see a really, really excellent presentation from Chris Nichols and Dan Thrawn, who I've been listening to for years with CG Garage podcast and Martini Giant, and I've been on CG Garage, and I've hung out with Chris a number of times, most recently at the Real-Time Economics Summit last year, and he connected me with Jean-Michel in the first place. All sorts of fun connections there, but Chris had Chris and I had spoken together at Real-Time Economics Summit. He kindly invited me to Total Chaos back in 2019 in Sofia, Bulgaria, which is one of my favorite conferences of all time. So good. And I got to chat more with Alex from Chaos and some of the other organizers there about please do a Total Chaos 2, because that was such an amazing event. Meanwhile, the presentation was excellent. Like, I kind of went into this because I like Chris, and I'm happy to see anything they're up to. And I think the short film they made for Project Arena called Ray Tracing for the Win, FTW, is hilarious and full of great inside jokes. But I didn't really get what it was proposing that was different from what Unreal Engine can do with virtual production. And the truth is, it was pretty significant. The ability for, I want to call it like a proper turnkey solution for virtual production that Project Arena is offering from Chaos is excellent. Like, here's the thing. You have a V-Ray scene. It's not optimized. It's got tons and tons of geometry, crazy materials, crazy lighting, thousands of lights. But if you're using Vantage, formerly Project Lavina, back when I was beta testing it, I think I'm still on their website as like a testimonial for how cool it is. A full ray tracing engine, unlike Unreal Engine, which is more hybrid, kind of like a hybrid car versus a electric car. Rembrandt, cool, Rembrandt. Actually is much more efficient at rendering things, and polygons are basically free. Polygons are free. You can have very complex scenes, and so what that means is you can have a V-Ray scene, a .vr scene file, and open it up. Hey, horsey. And then what you end up with is a project that is rendering completely within a scene very efficiently, and it will display on an LED wall. You don't have to deal with end display and all sorts of crazy render node stuff. It's just about an out-of-the-box solution, which is wonderful. And they did such a good job of presenting it as like a simpler alternative. Like, yes, of course, it's not replacing Unreal Engine. If you still have a super complex scene, then Unreal Engine's going to be still key. But yeah, I was very impressed. I thought it was great. Running out of time here because I do want to keep this under 15 minutes. Sorry for the lapses in thought and all that, but I did want to get something out in this little video diary very quickly. Berlin, also amazing. The next day we got to go see incredible modern circus stuff. We got to see I got to see the Samurai Museum. I got to explore an immersive experience with kind of a mini holodeck for ancient Egypt thing, and then flew to Vienna and had a wonderful dinner last night with Tipitat. We got to scan a bunch of food, got to hang out with a bunch of people who are having a soft opening of a restaurant, and it was great. But yeah, I'll do another one of these for sure once AWE is over. There's a party tonight, and I'm excited to see a bunch of people who I've only ever met online, as well as people who I do know from the area. We'll just end on this.